Unrivaled has had so far this season, it must have hurt Annie's heart when she started seeing these ratings in such a bad place, and she was like, damn, I can't ignore this. This is so bad, I just can't ignore it. I have to talk about it. Damn, it hurt. Folks, the elephant in the room is the bad Unrivaled.
There comes a moment in every sports experiment when spin dies. Not slowly, not politely, but violently, when even the most loyal cheerleaders are forced to stop clapping and start whispering, okay, something is wrong. That moment has arrived for Unrivaled. This isn't one of those polite media narratives where a league faces challenges or navigates a competitive landscape. This is a straight-up collapse hiding in plain sight. When ratings fall so hard that even pro-WNBA media figures, people whose entire careers are built on framing every stumble as progress, start using words like plunged, steep, and unsustainable, you know the math has finally overpowered the messaging. This isn't a dip. This isn't noise. This is gravity. Viewership didn't slide, it fell off a cliff. And cliffs don't come with recovery timelines, they come with impact damage. Unrivaled's second season was supposed to be confirmation. Proof of concept. The "see, we told you so" moment. Instead, it's become the clearest case study yet of what happens when supply is created without demand, when belief substitutes for audience, and when ideology tries to outrun economics. Strip away the branding, the slogans, the empowerment language, and what you're left with is brutally simple: people are not watching. Not in meaningful numbers. Not in numbers that justify nine-figure media deals, premium salaries, or expansion. You can't talk your way out of empty screens. Opening weekend hype evaporated almost instantly, and by the time the calendar flipped a few days forward, the audience had already vanished. That's not how growth leagues behave. That's not how momentum works. Successful leagues stabilize, then expand. They don't hemorrhage viewers in their second year. And here's the most damning part: this collapse didn't happen quietly on obscure platforms. It happened on major cable networks. It happened where visibility was supposed to be the advantage. When tens of thousands, or fewer, are tuning into what was marketed as elite professional basketball, the problem isn't exposure. It's interest. And interest cannot be manufactured by press releases, tweets, or carefully curated optimism. What makes this moment so destructive is that Unrivaled was never just a league. It was a statement. A challenge to the existing power structure. A proof point used in broader arguments about market value, leverage, and alternative pathways. When that proof point starts disintegrating publicly, it doesn't just hurt the league, it detonates the credibility of the entire premise. You can't claim untapped demand while the audience actively disappears. You can't argue that the market is undervaluing you while the market is, in real time, telling you exactly what it's willing to pay attention to. And when the silence from media partners gets louder than the promotion ever was, when streaming numbers stay conveniently invisible, when excuses start stacking faster than highlights, the message is clear: this isn't bad luck. This is miscalculation. The kind that doesn't announce itself until the damage is irreversible. Here's where the story turns from disappointing to catastrophic. Unrivaled didn't just maintain its scale in year 2, it expanded. More players. More teams. More games. More expenses. In any rational business model, expansion only happens after demand proves durable. Expansion is confidence. Expansion is validation. Expansion says, we have an audience, and they want more. But Unrivaled expanded into a vacuum. The supply increased while the audience collapsed. That's not ambition, that's financial self-sabotage. Every additional roster spot means another salary. Every extra game means more production costs. Every new team means more logistics, staffing, marketing, and infrastructure. And all of it depends on one thing: people watching. When that foundation cracks, everything above it becomes dead weight. This isn't theoretical. This is arithmetic. and the numbers do not care about narratives, intentions, or mission statements. The most uncomfortable truth is this: year one worked because it was new. Novelty is powerful. Curiosity sells. People tuned in to see what Unrivaled was. They didn't tune in because they were emotionally invested in 3-on-3 basketball as a long-term product. Once the mystery disappeared, so did the audience. That's the danger of mistaking curiosity for loyalty. Loyalty sustains leagues. Curiosity doesn't. And when novelty fades, only the core value proposition remains. For Unrivaled, that proposition turned out to be weaker than advertised. The games feel like exhibitions. The stakes feel manufactured. The urgency isn't there. American sports audiences are conditioned to care about seasons, legacies, rivalries, and championships that mean something over time. Drop-in, short-form competition without deep emotional roots struggles to compete, especially during the most crowded sports months of the year. This isn't about NFL competition. That excuse collapses under scrutiny. If your product can't coexist with other sports, it's not competing, it's being ignored. And then there's the part no one wants to say out loud: the star power isn't what it was sold as. Some of the best players chose not to return. Others opted out entirely. That matters. You can't claim to be the pinnacle while bleeding talent. When players openly state that the format made them worse 5-on-5 players, when overseas leagues become more appealing, the illusion breaks. This wasn't supposed to be a stepping stone, it was supposed to be a destination. Instead, it's starting to look like a detour players took once and decided not to repeat. That's fatal for a league built on prestige and exclusivity. You can't sell the best in the world when the best are quietly choosing elsewhere. And once fans realize that, they don't come back. They move on. Just like the ratings did. This is where Unrivaled stops being just an isolated failure and starts becoming a cautionary tale. Because the damage doesn't end with one league, it ripples outward. The entire concept was positioned as leverage. Proof that players had alternatives. Evidence that the existing system was holding them back. But leverage only exists if the alternative is viable. When that alternative collapses in real time, it doesn't strengthen your negotiating position, it destroys it. Owners don't need to argue hypotheticals anymore. They can point to ratings, attendance, and financial reality and say, this is the market. And they'd be right. The market spoke. Loudly. Repeatedly. Brutally. The irony is almost painful. Unrivaled was designed to prove that women's basketball demand was being artificially suppressed. Instead, it exposed how fragile that demand still is outside of established structures. The WNBA, with all its flaws, benefits from decades of slow, grinding audience building. Unrivaled tried to bypass that process with money, production value, and ideology. But audiences don't materialize on command. They develop through habit, attachment, and time. You cannot fast-forward cultural relevance. And when Warner Bros. Discovery looks at a shrinking audience, escalating costs, and an exit clause looming in the contract, this stops being about belief and starts being about risk management. Media companies don't subsidize passion projects indefinitely. Especially not after losing premium properties elsewhere. At some point, the spreadsheet wins. It always does. So the real question isn't whether Unrivaled finishes this season. It will. The question is what happens after. Year 3 is the line of truth. That's when optimism runs out. That's when partners decide whether this is a long-term asset or a sunk cost. That's when players decide whether the checks are worth the trade-offs. And that's when the broader basketball ecosystem absorbs the lesson. The lesson isn't that women's basketball can't grow, it's that growth can't be forced. It has to be earned.